You're listening to Beaufort County's House of Cards on the Big Patriot Radio Network. And welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is a special edition of Beaufort County's House of Cards. We're going to get the screen going here. Today is a special called meeting of the Beaufort County Council. And let's get everything set here. This is what they're calling the let's get this set right. This is going to be the Greenway hearing. The hearing for Eric Greenway. Let me see if I can get this spread out a little bit better. Eric Greenway is, let's try that. Anyway, Eric Greenway, the former, now fired county administrator. If you've been watching this show for any length of time, you'll know about the blanket gate, the Lisa Lynch story, all of that kind of stuff. We've been talking about it ad nauseum. And well, he decided that, he being Eric Greenway, that he wanted his day Apparently, he has the legal right in this particular. I mean, this isn't a court, so I'm not really sure where he gets off in that. But anyway, I mean, whatever. He wants to say his piece in front of county council and the community. I still find it strange because, I mean, he could perjure himself because there are criminal investigations underway on several things we think. We really don't know because the chairman of county council has been tight-lipped on this, not letting county council members know, not letting the public know what's going on. They have a right to know. It is public money. This is not the kingdom of Passament or Passamenteville. So we'll see. Again, I think it's, I don't know. I don't know if I was him, I don't believe I would be doing this, especially being under investigation. But Lisa Lynch, the other party, at least one of many parties. I mean, there are a lot of parties involved in this. She was the one that came up in front of county council a week or two ago, and gave her 3-minute speech during public comment. And he decided to do this. So we'll see what happens here shortly. You see, we are streaming through YouTube. We also have a link into the county channel. And if something goes down, you never know with this kind of thing. I never say never. We'll switch to the other. If you have any comments or questions you want to place here in the show, just do that in your search bar. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And if it's appropriate, I'll post your comment here on the show. It is about 2 minutes before the top of the hour, and this will be taped and placed in the archive. You can always go anywhere on Facebook in the Beaufort County House of Cards page and find whatever show you want to look at and rewatch it. You can also go to YouTube to the Beaufort County's House of Cards channel, and under I believe it's under lives. Live shows or playlists, something like that. Search around through there. The show will be on there. Just look for the date and watch it at your leisure. Speaking of the date, today is 9/11. 22 years, unbelievable. 22 years since that day that those of us, obviously, who were around and old enough to remember, this date etched in our memory. We'll never forget. I can't believe it's 22 years. And I haven't met anyone that, has forgotten what they were doing at that time. The first plane hit at, I believe it was 8:46 in the morning, September 11th, 2001. That changed this country forever. Unfortunately, I believe something like that will happen again. Hope it won't. Hope it doesn't. But I'm afraid that it very well might. Let's take care of a couple of things here. It's 11 o'clock, so we'll be waiting for Joe Passament to gavel in the county council. We'll cover this live, and I won't interrupt unless something is worthwhile. Then I may. Otherwise, we'll leave the microphone open and let the chairman do his thing.
Good morning, everyone. This is a special called meeting of County Council, Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 11 a.m. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk to council please call the roll?
Councilmember Tabernick,
Present.
Councilmember Reeds,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Mark Lawson here.
Councilmember Howard, Councilmember Glover.
Here.
Councilmember Dawson,
Here.
Councilmember Cunningham,
Present.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Bartholomew,
Here.
Vice Chair McGillen,
Here.
Chairman Passament.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Yes, Councilwoman Howard will be here shortly. There is an accident on Rebo Road, and so she's tied up in that traffic. And two members of council, Mr. Dawson and Mr. Glover, are online. Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. I would ask a member of council to move and second the approval of this agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cunningham made the motion. Mr. Bartholomew made the second, duly motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
Seeing no discussion, the agenda will be approved without objection, and there are no objections. Ms. Howard has arrived.
The grand
It's
entrance.
okay. Item number 5 is a public hearing related to an employee regulated by County Council, Mr. Eric Greenway, pursuant to the South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 4-9-620. This public hearing is being held in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 4-9-620. In relevant part, that section provides that if the council determines to remove the county administrator, he shall be given a written statement of the reasons alleged for the proposed removal and the right to a hearing thereon at a public meeting of council. That's done by statute. For the purposes of this public hearing, council places into the record the following documents. Number 1 is a document on July 28th, 2023, council's notice of removal. Number 2, on August 3rd, 2023, Mr. Greenway's request for a public hearing. Number 3, on August 14th, 2023, council's notice of specific reasons for termination and offer to postpone the public hearing. Number 4, on August 14th, 2023, proof of delivery of that. Number 5, on August 19th, 2023, Mr. Greenway request to postpone public hearing dated August 19th, but received via email by Mr. Kevaney on Monday, August 21, 2023. Item number 6, August 21, 2023, Mr. Greenway's email requesting postponement. And item number 7, September 6th, 2023, Mr. Greenway's signed declaration. The public hearing is not a forum to review council's decision to terminate Mr. Greenway's employment. Council does not have a burden of proof at this hearing or an obligation to find facts or reach a conclusion. The conclusion to terminate Mr. Greenway was reached earlier. Council is under no obligation to review that decision. Mr. Greenway, however, does have a right to present witnesses and evidence to show the public his version of council's reason for his determination under a case known as Drawdy. Nevertheless, I will ask for a motion at the end of this hearing. That motion should address council's decision on Mr. Greenway's termination with cause. There will be no public comment during this period. Everyone is asked to refrain from reacting to comments made during this hearing. Mr. Greenway, in council's letter of August 14, 2023, we gave you very specific reasons for termination so you could fashion a response in a public hearing pursuant to South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 4-9-620. We indicated in the letter that the specific reasons will be made public at your hearing. And in accordance with the duties under the statute, the specific reasons for your termination are as follows. Item 1, the Elemental LLC contract. On January 9th, 2023, you entered into a contract for professional services with Elemental LLC. The contract says it is quote, an agreement for the opioid public education campaign, close quote. It provides that the company will, quote, provide services to the county subject to the direction and supervision of the Beaufort County Administrator, close quote, rather than to a department such as the Beaufort County Alcohol and Drug Abuse Department or to an assistant county administrator. Council understands that the Elemental LLC filed articles of incorporation with the South Carolina Secretary of State on December 15th, 2022, just 25 days before you entered into the contract.
Jeez.
The company's organizer is listed as Angela Hassinger. Council understands that you had a social relationship with Ms. Hassinger and her former sister-in-law, Lisa Lynch. During this time, and that this social relationship continued at least until the evening of May 6th, 2023. Ms. Lynch's relationship to Elemental is not fully known to the county. Elemental has invoiced the
Not
county
true.
for work attributed to Ms. Lynch. The Elemental website identifies Ms. Lynch as a co-founder and part of a, quote, team of experienced consultants, close quote. Council has reviewed the county's procurement file on this contract. It appears that in a period of just 30 days before February 28, 2023 and March 30th, 2023, you approved 3 non-itemized bills for professional services totaling $35,543.75. Based upon council's investigation to date, it appears to council that you violated several provisions of the Beaufort County's purchasing ordinance, its procurement regulations, processes, and guidance for employees and payment practices when, as county administrator, you entered into a contract with Elemental LLC and you authorized payment of expenses incurred by Ms. Hassinger and Ms. Lynch. The following is a list of code provisions, procurement regulations, and practices that council concludes you violated and the manner in which you violated them. Code of Ordinance, Section 2-505, Statement of Policy, subsection A, requires that all the use of a centralized purchasing system. Subsection B says that all purchases should be made in a manner which provides for greatest economy for the taxpayer, the fairest selection of a vendor, and the prevention of conflicts of interest. Toward that end, it shall be the policy of the county council that, whenever practical, goods and services required by the county agencies should be procured through competitive bidding. Code of Ordinance, Section 2-542, Architect, Engineer, Construction Management, Land Surveying, and other professional services. This section applies specifically to contracts for professional services such as the one with Elemental. Subsection A provides that when the contract of purchase order amount is expected to be $25,000 or more, it's the policy of the county to publicly announce all requirements for professional services and to negotiate such contracts based upon demonstrated competence and qualifications at a fair and reasonable price. The initial purchase order for Elemental contract was $50,000. In entering to the contract with Elemental on January 9th, 2023, you violated both requirements of this section, public announcement and negotiations based upon demonstrated competence qualifications. Code of Ordinance, Section 2-518, Sole Source Procurement. This section creates an exception to the general rule that requires competitive bidding of contracts with Beaufort County. It provides that a contract may be awarded without competition when the purchasing director determines in writing, after conducting a good faith review of available sources, that it is the only source for that required supply, service, or construction item. It further provides that the purchasing director shall conduct negotiations as appropriate as to price, delivery, and terms. You entered into the contract with Elemental on January 9th, 2023, without complying with any of these code sections. This contract should have been bid out pursuant to Section 2-505 and Section 2-542. It was not. Further, there was not at this time you entered into the contract a determination by the purchasing director in writing or otherwise, after conducting a good faith review of available sources, that Elemental was the only source for the required service as required by Section 2-518. Our investigation to date reveals that the purchasing director was not even made aware of the contract until early March of 2023, almost 60 days after you entered into the contract and after Elementals alleges that to have performed services totaling $20,075 in value. Invoices in January for the amount of $9,762.50 and February in the amount of $10,312.50. Additionally, it is clear to council after reviewing the contract and Elemental's website that Elemental is not in the business of providing consulting services regarding the development of opioid education and marketing. The company identifies itself as, quote, an independent strategic growth consulting firm, close quote, that, quote, helps grow client businesses, close quote. There is never a proper written determination under Section 2-518 that Elemental qualifies as a contractor for the opioid public education at all, less as a sole source contractor for these services. Your actions violated the negotiated provision of Section 2-518 as well, assuming it applied, as indicated above, after properly determining in writing that there was only one source for the required service. The purchasing director is then required to conduct negotiations with the vendor to achieve the greatest economy of taxpayer for the taxpayer. By the time the purchasing director became aware of the contract, the county had already been obligated to compensate Elemental at a rate of $275 per hour, thereby preventing him from carrying out his duties. Code of Ordinances, Section 2-522, purchase order required. This provision provides that any purchase made with county funds shall be recorded on a purchase order bearing the quantity of each item to be purchased. The purchase order for this contract is dated March 2, 2023. Again, almost 2 months after the contract was entered into and after the contractor had been billed an unbilled time in the amount of $20,075. This is not in keeping with county code. Beaufort County's procurement regulations, processes, and guidance for employees. The county's current procurement regulations and processes were adopted in January of 2022 during your term of office. Section 2-100.4 provides that the county administrator may execute any contract on behalf of the county subject to approval as to form by the county attorney's office. The county's attorney's office did not see or approve the contract before you signed it. But Section 2-100.4 goes even further. It states, quote, it shall be the county administrator's duty to ensure that all county contracts are procured in compliance with the requirements of the Beaufort County procurement rules and regulations as written by the procurement director and approved by the county attorney. Again, the county attorney's office did not see this contract until May of 2023. Section 2-100.7 provides that the county attorney's office must review and approve all contracts that exceed $15,000 as to form. Again, this did not occur. Section 2-200.1 provides that all contracts over $15,000 must be reviewed and approved by legal and procurement before the contract is signed by both parties. Neither the legal department nor the purchasing department reviewed or approved the contract before it was signed by both parties on January 9th, 2023. Compensation to independent contractors to attend professional conferences. Council has learned that at your instruction, Beaufort County paid for Angela Hassinger and Lisa Lynch, the latter prior to commencement of her employment with the county, to attend professional conference in Atlanta after being told the county does not pay for independent contractors to attend such conferences. The county paid registration fees in the amount of $1,750, airline tickets and baggage claims in the amount of $1,010.59, and hotel expenses in the amount of $782. The county also paid Ms. Hassinger and Ms. Lynch a flat fee for RX summit time of $3,000 as it appears on an invoice for the month of April. Council has reviewed text messages between you and Angela Hassinger and Lisa Lynch. Based upon these messages, numerous violations of the county code of ordinance, procurement regulations, and its policies and procedures, including the ways in which you violated them and your departure from established practices. Council has concluded that the violations are set forth above were not merely accidental, they were intentional, and they constitute a breach of your contract of employment with Beaufort County. The ordinances you violated are lawful directives of the county passed in open public meetings of county which do not reflect or invade the responsibilities and authority conferred on you by the South Carolina Constitution Code of Laws. As such, your actions constitute cause under your contract. Number 2, Lisa Lynch employment. In February 2023, you submitted a job description to the Beaufort County Human Resources Department for a position entitled Wellness Director. On April 6, 2023, you executed an employment offer letter to Ms. Lisa Lynch for a position of Wellness Director. Although it's not clear whether you fully complied with the Beaufort County hiring process from a technical perspective, it is clear that you did not comply with the spirit of the hiring process. It appears to council, largely verified through your own text messages, that you intentionally created a position for Ms. Lynch, structured it for reporting purposes in a way that sheltered her from the requirements of productivity, and then hired her, a woman with whom you had a prolonged personal relationship. Specifically, you provided Ms. Lynch with a 6-figure salary at your direction and contrary to the way the position was originally structured. She was made to report directly to you. It is council's understanding that staff ultimately determined that this position should have been overseen by the Human Resources Department. After a falling out with Ms. Lynch several days after she started work, you texted her on Saturday night stating that she was now just an employee of Beaufort County, implying that prior to the falling out, you considered her to be something more than that. Something superior to or important than other county employees, someone who was entitled to considerations that other county employees were not entitled to receive. Additionally, and as troubling, we have learned that when this position was created, there was not a budget for it, and the proper process for creating a budget for new personnel and administration was not properly followed. We have concluded that your actions were a direct reflection of your desire to provide comfort and security for this individual, regardless of her qualifications for the position or the value the taxpayers would derive as a result of her employment, all at the expense of the county. Those are the reasons for Mr. Greenway's termination. We will now have Mr. Greenway make any presentation he so desires, or someone in his stead. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chairman Passant. My name is Paul Porter, and I represent Eric Greenway. Thank you all for holding this name clearing or public hearing according to the statute. Thank you for permitting me to speak briefly on Mr. Greenway's behalf. Mr. Greenway is a long-tenured public servant, and I'm hopeful that with time and the completion of the ongoing investigation, he will determine that, in retrospect, there was not cause for his termination. Eric Greenway has served Beaufort County since January of 2018. Mr. Greenway worked for other counties and municipalities for the lion's share of his professional career, beginning as a zoning assistant in 1993 in York County. Every action Mr. Greenway took was within his judgment in furtherance of the best interest of this county's citizens. His background until the problems that we confront today was without reproach. In this brief presentation, I will not make legal arguments about whether or not council had the legal right to terminate Mr. Greenway's contract the way it did, or whether the statute was followed to a T. This does not mean that Mr. Greenway does not retain such arguments, but this hearing is neither the time nor the place for that. Instead, my role as his representative is to briefly tell his story in response to the grounds that you all have stated. Mr. Greenway has additionally provided you all with a declaration that you all have entered into the record, I believe is Exhibit 7. That declaration is concise by design to protect his interests while at the same time addressing the cause cited by you for his termination and the underlying wrongdoing attributed to him. Briefly, I would like to recount how we got here. Mr. Greenway was placed on administrative leave by this council on July 24th, 2023 to allow for an investigation by a third-party firm into purchasing and procurement issues spanning from 2019 to 2023. The next day, Ms. Lynch was separated from the county's employment, made allegations against both Mr. Greenway and the county. Those allegations resulted in unflattering media coverage for both Mr. Greenway and the county. Then on July 28th, presumably before that third-party investigation was complete, this council moved to terminate Mr. Greenway. On August 14th, 2023, he was given a statement of the reasons for his termination, which you, Chairman Passman, have read into the record this morning. The primary discussion concerning Ms. Lynch is on the final page of that 5-page statement of the grounds. And that discussion has to do with the way she was hired. Regardless of the issues surrounding Ms. Lynch, within this letter of the grounds, these are not stated to be the specific cause under the contract for Mr. Greenway's termination, as I read your memorandum. Instead, the procurement issues at pages 1 through 3 concerning this contract for opioid public education are specifically said to amount to, quote, failure to comply with the lawful directives of this council. Those lawful directives referred to are said to be various procurement ordinances for the county. I will focus on these cited issues since this is the specific contractual cause stated in your memorandum. There are several indisputable realities when we discuss procurement that should be mutually acknowledged between both Mr. Greenway and the council. First, Mr. Greenway did not ask for the role of county administrator. At first, he resisted it. You asked him to serve first as acting, interim, and then full-time. He did not claim to have knowledge of procurement and finance. Quite the opposite, he specifically told you he did not have knowledge in those areas.
So it's not his
He did a
fault.
good job by all accounts until these issues, including your own accounts. In his evaluation, the council stated that he was, quote, an outstanding leader
who has changed the way employees are perceived by the public. The evaluation continues, quote, "There is nothing to add to what we can do better. The county is moving in the right direction. Stay the course. Under Eric's leadership, the county has steadily improved." In an opinion editorial on November 17th, November 2022, Council Chairman Passman genuinely and in good faith wrote an article titled "Stability Brings Higher Expectations in Beaufort County." Chairman Passman, you wrote, "County Administrator Eric Greenway will continue to guide our staff. After a few years of instability, the County Council has found the right person for the job. Eric has mentored the county staff to increase productivity and provide innovative ideas and creative solutions." Chairman Passman continued, "His leadership has brought together the staff, raised morale, and made Beaufort County a great workplace." Mr. Greenway's work was not only justifiably praised by you all, but also by the public at large for making a discernible impact in bettering the lives of working-class citizens in this county, as described by the January 26, 2023 Post and Courier article titled "Beaufort and Jasper Counties Municipalities Get Serious About Affordable Housing." That article was about Eric's work to spearhead the creation of a $3.4 million trust fund to increase the supply of affordable housing in this region. Now, I do not pretend that Mr. Greenway is perfect or that he has not made mistakes, but I do suggest that on balance, he met the expectations of his job. And I respectfully contend that the decision to terminate Mr. Greenway was hasty and reactive, and that it ought to be reconsidered and reversed. On issues of procurement and hiring, Mr. Greenway appropriately relied on experts hired to support him in roles. This includes the Deputy County Administrator, a CPA recruited specifically because Mr. Greenway acknowledged he had a blind spot in public finance. This also includes the county's Finance and Procurement Office and Human Resources with respect to the hire of Ms. Lynch. The principal concern you all have addressed is the hire of Elemental LLC to oversee opioid public education. Early on in the memorandum, you cite the approval for $35,543.75 in bills for professional services to that company. Mr. Greenway had legitimate concerns that the county should use its opioid settlement money aggressively to address the actual victims of opioid addiction in creative ways. Rightly or wrongly, he was well intended in wanting to bring a fresh perspective to bear in that fight.
So forget the law. You wanted to be aggressive, so you don't have to abide by the law.
In reviewing the ordinance within the context of Mr. Greenway's transparent and admitted lack of a background in public finance, the following points should be made in mitigation of the wrongs alleged. A plain reading of Ordinance 2502 indicates that Mr. Greenway did not have a financial interest in the opioid education contract, nor did any immediate family member as defined by that ordinance. Ordinance 2-205 does not mandate that every contract for services be subject to competitive bidding. This contract was reviewed by other high-ranking county employees with greater knowledge of public finance than Mr. Greenway prior to its implementation and signing. Furthermore, in considering the county's internal procurement regulations, processes, and guidance for employees, Section 2.100.6 vests the county administrator with authority to formally approve contracts over $30,000 and sole source requirements over $49.99. Regardless of these points, Mr. Greenway never pretended to have a background in procurement. He relied on the professionals around him, which is what executives are forced to do when confronted with problems and processes from outside of their background. This council had reasonable cause on July 24th, 2023 to investigate these issues, but it should have allowed that investigation to run its course. I respectfully contend to you that if there were unintentional violation of ordinances, assuming ordinances are ultimately found to be violated, the investigation that I understand to still be ongoing is complete, then that is still not the sort of intentional insubordination discussed in the cause provision of Mr. Greenway's contract. Mr. Greenway never willingly disregarded a lawful directive of council. That would not be in his nature, and you all know that. Mr. Greenway is imperfect, as we all are. On balance, though, he has devoted his hard work and loyalty to this county. He's a public servant who is passionate about zoning, development, and making things better for Beaufort County. He deserves a more dignified, deliberative assessment, and I ask that you reconsider and reverse your decision to terminate him for cause. Thank you.
Unreal.
Give your statement to the clerk so it is entered into the record.
Certainly.
Thank you. Is there any other item you wish to present at this time?
No, thank you, Chairman Passman.
Okay, thank you. Is there a member of council who wishes to make a specific motion as a result of this hearing?
What's the language you're looking for?
Talked about
I would ask a
beforehand.
member of council to move and to second to affirm council's decision of July 28th, 2023 to terminate Mr. Greenway with cause for the reasons that set forth in our letter of August 14th, 2023.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Ms. Tabernack made the motion. Mr. Bartholomew made the second. Duly motioned and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tabernick,
Yes.
Councilmember Bartholomew,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeds,
Yes.
Councilmember Lawson,
Mark Lawson, yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Glover, Councilmember Glover.
Yes, can you not hear me?
Now I can, yes, sir.
Okay.
Councilmember Dawson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cunningham,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Vice Chair McGillen,
Yes.
Chairman Passman.
Yes.
The motion passes.
There being no further business to come before this council, this meeting is now adjourned.
All right. Well, let's, there we go. So that is that's the extent of the meeting, and a real quick recap. Let's see if we're going to, is this an upside down world? Yeah, I know. He wanted to fresh something. That's sure. You're right. Let's, thanks, Katie. Interesting. Chairman Passament set forth a timeline of what happened. It's not an all-inclusive timeline, but it was a pretty decent timeline nonetheless. I'll have to give him that. With proof of deliveries, dates of requests, dates of postponement, blah, blah, blah. Passament went on to say that I believe it was statute 49620. That's the statute that gave Greenway the right to do what he did today. And then he stated there are really two reasons why they fired him. One, the elemental contract, which corroborates everything we have told you for months now, that he did the contract within 25 days of the company becoming LLC, incorporated, which is absurd. He did it without procurement's knowledge, which I don't believe. He did it without finances knowledge, which we pretty much know is not true. He violated personnel policy, and he quoted all these procurement policy numbers: 2205A, 2205B, 2542, 518, blah blah blah. He then said that the county had paid for both Lisa Lynch, and this is something I had not known about, Lisa Lynch and her sister-in-law, the Hassinger, Angie, to go to Atlanta for a conference on something of this nature. And it is true, contractors are not paid or reimbursed by the county to go to conferences. Employees are, elected officials are, but contractors are not. It was over $1,000. You heard it was for flights from here to Atlanta, baggage claim, hotel, meals, etc. That was part of it. Number two was the Lisa Lynch employment. It did not comply with county policy. Duh, we've been telling you that. No budget for this job. We've been telling you that. That was really the two reasons why they're saying he was fired. We believe there's more to it because of the investigations that they've asked for. But, you know, what's being said is legitimate. Passament's phrasing is legitimate. So Greenway did not speak, as you saw. He was there with another attorney. His attorney that spoke for him, a Mr. Paul Porter, who we will dig into today sometime and find out who he is. He spoke for Mr. Greenway. The ironic thing right off the bat was that he said, and I wish I had a sound effect of a harp or something, or a violin. He didn't ask for this job, is what he quoted. He did not ask for this job. Well, then why in the hell did you take the job? I mean, I was there. I remember this happening. That was my rub to begin with. He's a land planner. What the hell does he know about being a county administrator? But he took the job. Nobody forced you to take the job, Junior. Nobody forced you to take the job, but you did. You know, I don't know anything about heart surgery, but if I applied for the job and was offered the job and took it, the onus is on me. The responsibility is on me. You know what I'm saying? That's amazing. It's a great lawyer version. It's a shame the little short fella didn't have more theatrics with himself, because he could have made that into something, but he didn't. It was very, very vanilla. He didn't ask for this job. He said he had no financial interest, he being Greenway. Greenway had no financial interest. Happily, I still have the praising Jesus. That would be awesome. If you don't want to post that, I would love to have it, because we would. I would love to have that. Just send that to me. That would be awesome. That would be the meme of the day if we had that. That is great. Anyway, he said that he has no financial interest. Well, yes, he did. Of course he did. He also had the interest of his gosh, I guess I need to say this the right way. He had the interest of his personal feelings. He was dating the girl. Of course he had an interest in it, whether she got the job. It was a 6-figure job times 2. I mean, she had all the perks. You know, he was dating her. I don't need to spell this out for you. You can figure what his interest was. Of course he had an interest. It was pretty obvious what his interest was. We reported last week that, you know, he was showing up at her house in the middle of the day. Yeah, he had an interest. His interest was pretty well documented. Who else was there? Duffy Stone was there, the solicitor, sitting back in the corner. The sheriff's attorney, he was there. The mayor of Beaufort, Stephen Murray, was there. Josh Galati, one of the Beaufort town councilmen, he was there. The county treasurer was there, which is a little strange, other than she works in the building, and there may be some improprieties that has been speculatively placed on Greenway from other females. We do know she's one of two that have filed suits against the county and former auditor Jim Becker. The GOP chair, Kevin Henley, was there sitting beside Treasurer Walls, which is weird. Why would, other than he's just curious, but why would he make the 45-minute drive as GOP chair to sit in the gallery? That's a little weird. Just a little weird, you know? Why is it so weird? It's just because, I mean, he's the GOP chair. Just a little strange. Former land planner or planning director was there, who, when he retired, that's whose job Greenway originally took. Then there was just some other folks in the community, no other elected officials that I'd noticed, but they were there. So anyway, after the attorney got done doing his deal, the chairman asked if there was anyone that wanted to make a motion. Which let me unpack that for a second. You hear Passament say that a lot. Is there any motion from the council to oppose this or to approve this? That's a key word for it. We've talked about it ahead of time. If he has said, is there any pleasure from the council? And just shut up. That leaves it up to the council to decide. His question was, does anybody from council want to make a motion? You heard the vice chairman say, you mean to make the one about keeping our vote? They talked about it beforehand. That is wrong. That's wrong. You don't do that. That is wrong. That's what we've been talking about. Everybody's been talking about. Passament does this wrong, too much behind the door. Yes, we know what we feel about Eric Greenway and what's going on. Yes. And I should say Lisa Lynch was there with her lawyer as well. But it's how he does it. That's why he is terrible, terrible, terrible as chairman. Not transparent. Anyway, they voted 11-0 to keep their vote of termination with cause. So he is still, today is the last day. The money ran out today. He is now not getting, supposedly, any more dollars from the county. Let's hope that's true. We will find out. And we'll move forward. We'll see what happens next. So, hey, thanks for tuning in this special edition of Beaufort County's House of Cards.
All the wickedness and filth this world has to offer.
Rock music that shatters your bones. Big Patriot Radio.
That's some serious rock.
And you're responsible.
Be sure to tune into BigPatriotRadio.com. That's BigPatriotRadio.com every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And for all the upcoming action, don't forget Beaufort County House of Cards will be back on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And until then, this is Mike Covert, and we appreciate you watching. Have a good day.